Oh my goodness, these people probably don't even recognize us anymore.
Probably not, man. It's been too fucking long.
It has, man. Scurryface, how the hell you been? NLD, Night Living Dreads, we are back. I am Otis B. Dreads, as always. Jackal Monkey with me, and we are back. Had some technical, I did anyway, had some technical issues. It kind of took the podcast down for a little bit, but we have the guy who pretty much single-handedly got this podcast back on as a guest. We're going to bring him in just a minute. Man, what a I'm so glad to be back. I've had way
I
too
know,
much
right?
coffee today, and we got some people filing in, vice versa. Hello, Chaos. Hello, Doug Hale. All hail, Doug Hale. What the hell?
Yeah, I do.
Hey, I want to hammer through the intro here real quick, but so we can get to our guest, Mr. Terry Jarrell. You were right on how to pronounce the last name.
Word.
Yes, you were. Uh, welcome, Blod. Thank you for being here. But first and foremost, stick around the old Scurryface crowd because the Scurry 3 show, if I read it correctly, is actually doing the last show, the 2021 year. Maybe they were taking a break for the holidays. Maybe I read it wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. You're going to catch them actually right after this show here. It's going to be 6:30ish. They really pinpoint their time. Tyler and the gang, the Scurry 3 show, 6:30ish. That's Central Time, 7:30ish Eastern Time. So you can stick around for that. You can catch this show again because we are back. Hopefully you can join us here, every week live and interact with us. But if not, some of us, got to work, and that's fine. Go over there to Night of the Living Dreads .com. We'll have all the audio versions of this particular show, and as well, go over there and search us over there at the old YouTube. You'll find us over there as well. So you can always go back and watch it, but it's always more fun to watch live, I think,
Yeah.
because you can sit and chat with us here on the side if you have questions. And Spotify, Stitcher. That's where you're going to catch all the audio versions of what we got going on here. So I think we're about ready to bring in our guest. As I don't know if this particular crowd knows over here at Scurryface that we have changed things up a little bit. You're going to hear conversations that may be strictly about filmmaking and maybe not specifically horror related, but it's all going to have a common thread, and that's going to be the indie film industry as a whole. And more specifically, we're not giving up our horror roots yet. More specifically, we're going to zero in on some really good indie horror films, which you're going to see a couple trailers at our halfway point at our break there. So and one guy who's been involved in this whole indie scene and he's done, normally we have like, directors, writers, actors, special effects. We got a guy who works with drones. Let's just bring him in now. Terry, welcome, sir.
Hey, you all. Thanks for having me on. How's everybody doing?
Oh
It's
man,
been
I couldn't be better. Couldn't be better. Thank you again. As I mentioned before, you really helped get the show back up and going, and we thought it only appropriate to bring you on, have you talk about what you're doing, some projects you got going on, and here in the first half, at least more specifically. your specialty, and that, as we see, Black Dog Films, but it's also Black Dog Drones as well. You work with drones. Would you call that your specialty? Because you told me you've done everything from take out the trash and get coffee to writing and directing. I mean, you've done a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I do. I still think I take out the trash and make more coffee than anything sometimes.
Oh,
No,
well,
it gets thrown at me. No, yeah. Well, drones is kind of a really big part of what I do. But if I had to plant a flag, I would say it's with technology. And I've been in technology for 20 some years. Previously as an Apple consultant and trainer, but I worked kind of parallel with film. I taught users how to use things like iMovie and the cameras on their phones and things like, and basically how to be creative with the devices they had from that perspective. And that just being the goofy tech geek I am, when drones hit, of course, had to have one right off the bat, because it was something with lights and buttons and switches and levers, and it could take pictures. So it's like, okay. So I got really deeply immersed in that and kind of just added that as another layer on what I do. And the technology, not only with drones, but with cameras and small camera systems over the past 3-4 years has just is blown up. It's crazy how the capability and the power has just multiplied. I've never seen anything like this in technology. And it's right kind of in my wheelhouse as I just sort of segued more into working with filmmakers.
mm-hmm.
And drones, of course, for example, have given particularly indie filmmakers or filmmakers that weren't operating on these enormous budgets the ability to get these shots, these $1 million shots, and recreate shots like a crane shot. And I know everybody's seen, the flying over the trees openings, establishing shots, things like that. But those used to be, of course, done with a cameraman, a rig, and a helicopter. And at $5,000 an hour, that would be out of the hands of an indie. So now we can do that kind of stuff, and to do it safely and correctly and everything, there are federal regulations and all that have to be followed. And I am also a drone pro with the FAA in our local area, so I can help filmmakers as far as getting their certification to fly and fly safely. Because when you're flying a drone, you're doing two jobs. You're flying an aircraft, and you have to be aware that there are other aircraft in the air. And you're also a camera operator, unless you're flying a system that has two dual controls. And then it can get really tricky. But there's some technology now that is sort of replacing the need for drones in a lot of ways. And that's something I am all over. Not in all shots, but in like the tighter, lower altitude shots that I've been using.
Oh, is this what you showed me the other night when we did our little test call? Is that what you're? Or is that?
Yeah. And I'm going to show a couple of those.
Yeah.
Too. And in fact, one of the clips that I sent you that maybe we can take a look at later, I shot with a drone a couple years ago for a film. It was the opening shot for the opening credit roll for a film, and it was really cool. It was really tough to get. It looks pretty simple. I flew it maybe half dozen times to get the shot that I wanted. It's that one through the woods. Now I could get that with one of these new camera systems on one take, easily, safely, without needing a drone. And so,
which video? What was the name of that one?
It's the Survive.
Survive. I have it. I have it right here. Let's.
You want to take a look at it?
Yeah, let's take a gander at this. Adding it now. Let's look at this. There's not. I don't think. Yeah, there's no audio.
No, there's no audio.
But look how smooth that is. How many horror movies have we seen? How many movies, period, have we seen? I mean, that is just, and that's with a drone. That's you operating the drone?
Right. I actually, now this is just a clip I shot. This was about 1,200 feet that I flew through this wooded area. And I wanted to kind of give that feeling of being a little out of control. But you saw that one part where I kind of came through those tree limbs that were down. You got a lot of things to account for, like wind and all these things to deal with. And plus you have to stay out of the shot, so you're watching the camera and you're relying on the obstacle sensors and stuff on the drone and blah blah blah. So I
Right.
flew that forward actually, and I followed the drone. It was about 10 feet in front of me, so I could take it up, down, around tree limbs, things like that, kind of make it an interesting shot.
Mm-hmm.
And flew through the woods, landed it. And I got with the director, and he was all stoked. I said, "Yeah, that's cool, but why don't we make it like a roller coaster ride? What's scarier for a roller coaster, when you're going forward or when you're going backwards? Like the Mummy at Universal Studios, there's a part where it turns around and you drop down this thing backwards. Not a big drop, but it scares you because you can't see what's behind you. So
Yeah.
I reversed the clip, and that's the one you saw. And so when it came through, all of a sudden those tree limbs went like this. They came out of nowhere. There's some things like that. But I shot that with a drone. And again, it was tricky just getting the angles and everything. Of course, the gimbal kept it stable. Now I would use something, this is one, a camera like this. And this is by a company called Insta360. And I use a ton of their stuff. These guys, I mean, people see this and they say, oh, it looks like a GoPro. Well, it kind of does, but it's not in the same ballpark. This particular, yeah, the way I've got this one set up, this has a 1-inch Leica sensor on it. So it's really capturing fantastic detail. It's shooting at like 5.3K. I can get some pretty high frame rates out of it. I can use different filters, and you can really modify it to get what you want. The cool thing is the stability. We're probably familiar with gimbals. If any filmmakers are out there, you're familiar with gimbals and how they basically compensate and keep your image, your camera still, regardless of what the device holding it's doing.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't have a gimbal, but most gimbals are a 3-axis tilt, pan, and roll. This has a 6-axis stabilization, but it's all digital. It's all done in camera, so it's even smoother. So what I would do now, if I were to do that shot, I would take my handy dandy Insta stick, throw it.
Motherfuckers didn't know they were going to learn them something today, did they?
This is cinematography, I don't know, 102 maybe. And that would be it. I would get the shot. And that would be a very good quality file to take back, and I could throw it in my post-processing software, like Final Cut or whatever, and do the color grading and really come out with a cool clip with it. So there's so much capability. And the one thing before I get rattling, and you're gonna have to tell me to shut up, before I get rattling too much about cameras and in the shooting, you can do some amazing stuff with small camera systems if you know what they can do and know how to like wring that towel of ability out of these things. Now, I'm not saying, I've had this conversation before, I'm not saying no if you have an RE or a red or something like that, or even a nice black magic, don't throw that away and go buy one of these. It's a different level, but it's still going to put a stunningly close. It's going to give you 80%, maybe. I don't know what the number is, but it's going to give you tools and the ability to shoot a really cool film or some really cool shots that you wouldn't have had before, because instead of spending 30 grand for a camera, you can spend under $1,000.
Right.
And get you a nice kit going. So yeah, it's kind of to circle back, and I told you how to build a watch. The technology, I think, is the root of it. As far as the cameras, the drones, and the software, it's all ankle bone, knee bone stuff.
Do you
Right.
see the drone work as far as camera and cinematography? You see that being used more? Not that it's going to phase out a human, a live cameraman, but I mean, do you see it, being used more, being that you have worked on film projects, and one horror movie would be the Beast Comes at Midnight, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'll qualify that. I didn't do any drone work on the Beast. But to answer your question, I see drone in everything. And I have semi-jokingly said before, looking at these channels that are doing their own productions, like Netflix, Hulu, all these companies that are doing their in-house productions now. You can pull up 5 just random productions of theirs, whether it's a series or 5 movies or whatever. Within the first 5 minutes, I'll spot a drone shot. They're everywhere, and it's the ability to get these shots that would cost 10, 20, 50 grand to get this
Right.
one shot. You can get it
Right.
for pennies, and if you need to set that shot up again, it's a matter of just landing the drone, pop a new battery in, and let's go back at it. I mean, you don't have all the logistics to set it up. Of course, there are things that get back into the safety and all that. You got to clear the set and all that. But as far as getting the camera in the air, and some of the bigger drones, like I mentioned, 2 operators, you'll have one guy that's just running the camera, and then one guy's flying the drone. So they coordinate and rehearse how they want to get that shot. Hey, I'm gonna put the drone here. You get your shot. You move the camera, do whatever you need, and then we're going to go here and get this angle. And so that's a little more sophisticated version. But yeah, drones are really. I don't think they're. If anything, they're probably adding more ability as far as filmmakers, cinematographers, and it's another thing that they have to learn to use. But it's given them the ability to get shots like crazy, and especially on a low budget. I fly. This is my main drone. This is a DJI Mavic Air 2. It's not the latest greatest, and I can get some pretty amazing shots out of this guy. And it shoots in 4K up to 60 frames per second. Again, I can throw ND filters on. I can get whatever I need, and as long as it's not really low light, it does a really good job. So
that's awesome, and I'm glad that you mentioned like low budget indie filmmakers. Genres aside, Jackal Monkey, you must be chomping at the bit. You must have something that you want to mention.
Oh, absolutely. I've got 8 million questions, but what is that one that you would that drone that you have right there? Is that one that you would recommend for starters?
I really would. A few reasons for that. Number one, it's very budget friendly. It's not, like I said, it's not the latest one out. The Mavic series in DJI is kind of like their midline. They just released a new version that they really raised the bar some. And actually, do you need that? I mean, it's kind of a big question. It went up. It's pretty pricey, but it's got a blow your mind camera. But again, you have to think about your needs. Do you really need that? For me, I'm so used to working with this, and I can work with the files once they're downloaded. Like I said, unless it's nighttime shots or things like that, a bigger sensor would be better on the camera. But for daytime shots or normal shots, it's fantastic. The other reason I'd recommend it is the price. It's really darn affordable. You can find these now. They have a kit that gives you extra batteries and everything. When it came out, it was under $1,000. So you could probably find it for around $700-800 now. And that's a pretty good point of entry for the controller, for a few batteries, all the cables and knickknacks to get you in the air. A couple accessories, like ND filters are going to help you out as far as the cinematography quality. But it's a pretty good low point of entry. And again, if you're shooting more than one thing, or if you're doing like regular shoots, or if you plan on making multiple projects, it's going to pay for itself just being like that. And it's got some good safety things. It's got front and rear sensors that help you not fly into a wall and things like that. So it does.
It's Otis proof, boy, because don't let me get all over that damn thing.
Hey, I didn't say that.
I'll ram that son of a bitch right into the ground.
It's got the anti-Otis mechanism.
Right.
Nah, I don't know.
Now, would you say that as somebody that's wanting to start off as an indie filmmaker, could you use a drone as your primary camera? Could you rock only using a drone?
I've seen people do that, and I personally, I wouldn't do it. I've seen people take a drone, and actually there is a company, I can't remember the name, that makes a handle like, let me pop the cover off here so you can actually see the camera there. And that's the gimbal, and you can see how it tilts and rotates. I've got an ND filter on there now. So
That's awesome.
now, basically, again, it's two devices. It's an aircraft to go up in the air. Pop the couple of the arms open here, kind of give you an idea. So to get it in the air, it's got to fly, right? But then the camera is just essentially like any other camera. So there is a company that actually makes kind of this cradle thing. I don't have one. I used to have one that kind of clamps around here, and it's got two handles, and you can carry this thing around and just use the camera like that as a gimbal. So, and you've got a 3-axis stabilized gimbal, and you're just carrying the camera around at that point. You don't even need a handle. You could carry it around like this if you wanted. Of course, you can't have it on a tripod or anything, but it's doable. Now, some reasons I wouldn't do it, and I'll point one right here. Heat. This is a heat sink on the bottom. This dude the board isn't really designed to run without moving. And you probably can't see behind the camera here. Maybe I'm trying to get a little angle. There's a grill back here. This thing is designed to be moving through the air to keep it cool, because it's doing the board in here has some microprocessors on it. They're crunching a lot of math, and they get hot. It will shut itself down if it gets hot. So if you're just walking around with it, it's not moving enough airflow over it and cooling that heat sink. So that's a big reason I wouldn't do it. But it's a possibility.
So would you say with that one and the other camera that you showed us there, and you said that was a Instamax 360? Is that what you?
It's an Insta 360, and this dude. Now here's why I'm going to throw this out as a drone alternative. This stick, and I know you can't see it all in here. This is about 1 meter long. It's a little over 3 feet. That's pretty cool. So I'm about 6 feet tall. I can put this in the air, and it's going to be roughly like 10 feet in the air. I have another stick right over here that is a 10-foot stick. So now with that, I can put it like 16 feet, 17 feet in the air. So there, like that, the shot going through the woods, even though that was kind of low altitude, there were some points that were edited out of that clip where the altitude was up about 10 feet, and the drone kind of did this and that. So without having the complexity of having to manage flying a drone, I would do that with one of these cameras on a stick. And again, you can get that altitude. Here's another Insta 360 camera. It's another one of their products. I think we talked about this the other night. This is called a 1X2. Now the difference in this one as compared to this guy. Now this does have 3 different modules you can swap on. One does the same thing as this, but let me get this out of the way. Notice it has a lens on each side. Well, that's really not a lens. That's a separate camera on each side. And the way the lens is kind of fisheyed like that is to give it the ability to grab, I think it's about 190 degrees of like half a sphere. Now you're thinking 190 shouldn't be 180, roughly 190, because you've got that extra that overlaps. So when this thing shoots, it writes itself out of the shot. So it's invisible. So if it's on a stick, it doesn't matter, because we're thinking about traditional cameras. Like this has one lens. We have to think, got to keep the lens pointed forward, pointed at the subject.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, no, don't worry. Just walk around. Do whatever you want. Because it's going to grab this entire world. And then this is the advances in technology. It takes all that out of your hands. You don't even have to worry about framing the shot till you get back in to do the editing. The AI in the software helps you with this, and you can track a subject. For example, if you want to track a person in the shot, you were following somebody down the road, or a car, or a dog, or a horse, or it can be whatever. You can select that subject, and it will frame it out into like a 16:9, or whatever resolution you want. It'll frame it and track it. And again, we don't have to worry about any stabilization. It's all done. And it is a rock solid, absolute perfect shot. let's take it a step further. What if there was a person walking this way and a dog walking that way, and they go two different directions? Well, you might want to do a shot following the person, then you might want to do one following the dog. You don't have to go out and reshoot it. Take your same shot, reframe it following the other subject. So it gives you the ability to get this shot a zillion different ways. So as a director and an editor, I look at that like, I'll be looking at the shot. It's like, man, I cut, that side off, or I wish I, had another 100 pixels at the top.
Right.
Oh, wait, I do. All I have to do is go keyframe it up, and boom, we've got the shot we want. So
that's awesome.
Is just, it's crazy what it's doing. I have one more to blow with, but I don't know if we have any questions or something. I've had too much coffee, so
no, you're good. We got about like 4 or 5 minutes before we take our little halfway break. So go ahead, Jackal Monkey, take us out, brother.
How much do one of those cost?
Good question. The 1X2 is like $400.
Wow,
so it's not for what you get, and look how small it is. It will put it in your pocket. I mean, and it weighs nothing. But wait, there's more. It's waterproof. You can go, I think, 15 feet underwater with it, as is. Now they make a dive case, like you're going to go deeper, or like I'd probably use it in salt water or something if I needed to. But yeah, if you want to get underwater shots, and in the editing, it has I think it's called Aqua View mode that compensates for the color distortion underwater, and it corrects that color for you to make the blues blue, the greens green, the turtle, the alligator, whatever you happen to encounter down there is going to look crazy.
That's
our good friend Chaos in the chat does have a question with that particular device. How sturdy is it? I mean, if it was to fall, I mean, it looks like it may be fragile. I mean, can it take a drop?
That's a kind of a yes and no. As a device, yeah, it's pretty sturdy. The edge, if you can see, is kind of rubberized. It's really pretty rugged, and it's not lightweight. It's actually the whole body's kind of rubberized, but the edge especially. So it has a little bit of bounceability. That's my new word. Now, what is not forgiving at the very least are the lenses.
Right.
Hands on a lens, your party's over. Now, they do make lens protectors. I don't have them on this. I have it for the other camera. And they do make a couple different types of lens guards. One's kind of big and clips on. Then they make some they look like a big contact lens, and it's adhesive and it sticks around there. So if you are going to be using it, say for like a lot of people use these for like action sports type stuff, like skiing and jumping out of planes and stuff. I'd probably go with lens guards at that point. There's a little step you have to take in the editing to make sure that it excludes that lens guard, because it does introduce a new element around the screen. Not a big deal. Just a checkbox you have to tick off to tell the software that you do have lens guards on. But otherwise, pretty tough devices, pretty durable devices. Don't
go tossing it around, Yeah,
I'd say, well, maybe it's not the best thing to say. I was going to say treat it like your smartphone, but the way I've seen people treat
oh my goodness, no.
Yeah,
no, I would never be able to do that. Treat it like my phone.
Yeah, it's like a bottle of nitroglycerin.
Oh my goodness. I want to take a quick break. We got a couple trailers getting into more of the indie horror, and we're going to talk. I want to get into in the second half more on what we almost kind of touched on as far as economical. You don't have to take out a mortgage on your house to start filming and to be an indie filmmaker, and we're going to dive more into that when we do come back. I want to thank everyone in the chat room. Sorry I don't get to the to the, all of the comments I get. This is absolutely. We sat and talked the other night, Terry, and yeah, this is all really fascinating. And I'm sure it is for you too, Jackal Monkey, being
Oh
that, a
yeah.
young filmmaker, and all of these different little tricks of the trade that, you can use in some of your projects coming up.
Oh yeah.
So stick around. We're going to start this little break off. The SAS 2022 the entry is open for the Scurryface, the Haunt Actor Spectacular. And here's a little trailer to get you ready for that. We'll be back in just a minute. Get up, relax, stretch.
I would shiver the whole night through.
Want to hear a scary story?
So I guess you're here about that mess we got.
It's an animal of some sort, but not one I've ever seen before.
He believes what he sees is real.
Can you tell me what it is you think you saw?
Tobacco Man?
What is a tobacco man?
Reminds me of them damn stories.
I've been researching myths on the dark and bloody ground for this book that I've been writing.
Every town has its haunted house.
I know there's an urban legend here, something about Moontown and missing children and monsters.
Dale says that people still believe that his ghost haunts that land.
The beast. Been walking this earth since the beginning. Cursed to it.
You've been through hell many times, Leslie. There's a whole lot more out there waiting. For all of us.
If I accept what this boy believes, I surrender everything that I know. I mean, how does a man make war with the devil himself?
It's easy. You walk out that door with me.
We're all killers, aren't we? It's in our nature to kill. We kill animals. We kill nature. We kill each other. We kill. His blood runs through these walls of this house. When I was a little girl, I didn't believe such nonsense. But eventually, I believed. Someone here has a very dirty mouth. Someone might be careful, might get that tongue cut out, little girl.
All right. I absolutely love that trailer for the last one. First of all, what did you think about what did you think about those, Terry?
Oh, I loved them. I was just like glued to all of them, and and for me, I think the cool thing was I could lose myself in them a little bit, and that's hard for me. I think of everything technically. I like deconstruct everything. Every shot, I'm the worst person to watch a movie with. I'm like, oh, look at that angle. Look at this. Look at where they put the kilo. And that I could let go because these trailers are all pretty darn compelling. And I'm with you. The last one especially kind of jumped out there. I think they're onto something. They're doing some nice work there on all of it.
And see, and there you go. Jackal Monkey sent me actually both of those trailers, and I watched them. And yes, I loved the first one and the first one that we showed in the break. Oh my goodness, the name just slipped my mind.
On a dark and bloody ground.
On a dark and bloody ground, yes. My head went blank. And that one,
he's drawn. He's actually drawn over 600 DVD and Blu-ray covers for horror movies.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's a fantastic artist and an all-around badass guy too. Like, I can't wait to see this, man. Oh, he actually did a fan film, the Confessions of Fred Krueger.
Oh, I did like that, dude. That was really good. Yeah, it was about like a little 30-minute short film. I really dug that. That was good.
And then Josh Graves, I've been friends with Josh Graves for a while. I've been following him ever since he started the project for the House That Eats Flesh, and I've been excited and been ready. I've been ready for this for a while. And after I saw the trailer, I was like, oh man, like,
and
I messaged. I was like, dude, you just set the bar for indie horror with this trailer, man. Like that was a kick-ass trailer.
Yeah, and case in point, this is what indie horror, indie film, this is what they bring to the table. Yes, a lot of them are very low budget, but they don't have the big brother of Hollywood or whatever on your back.
Right.
And as we were speaking before we went live, Terry, it allows these filmmakers to take and really there's no cap on the creativity. The sky is the limit, whereas it's not like that when you get into the big corporate moguls and monsters, if you will, of the entertainment industry. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, well, a phrase that I always kind of keep churning through my mental nightmare is the phrase, we've overheard a billion times, think outside the box. I think with indies, there is no box.
No,
Because
there isn't.
even if you're outside the box, and I don't know where I got this or how it came to me, but I always thought, well, if you're outside the box, that still means you're limited because you might want to get back in the box sometime. I mean, it's still a limitation. Where with indies, there is no box. You can do anything. And it almost sounds cliche, but the only limitation is your imagination. I mean, you can do a crazy, amazing things. Like, we've been talking about small cameras and these, inexpensive tools and software and things that can really, if you put your mind to it and you think about what your A to Z points are going to be, what you want to see, what you want your audience to see, whether it be the sound, whether it be the visuals, man, it's right there. You can do it. You can really burn through and create some amazing stuff. And again, the cost of this stuff has come down. It's putting it in everybody's hands now. Like, well, everybody's got one of these, right?
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, no matter how cheap or expensive, whether it's the latest iPhone or whether it's 3-year-old Android, they all have cameras on it.
I don't know if anybody's seen this app. That's kind of a cool effect. Check that out. It's like all like Mac headroomy. This is an app called Filmic Pro, and this is an iPhone XR. It's a couple years old, not the latest, greatest. Single lens camera. It's not got all the 3 cameras and all that. But on just what you said, iPhones, Android, whatever, they have to put those out. They have to be marketed for the masses, right? So 99.7% of people are going to take the camera, hit click, and take my selfie, or they're going to take a picture of their friend over there by the waterfall, whatever. They're not going to use it so much in a creative way. So the manufacturers don't really go to great pains to give you a really good camera app. Now, the hardware is another story. The hardware could very well be a very, very good camera, and chances are it is. If your phone is less than 2 or 3 years old, you've got a pretty good camera, I'm betting. So if you take an app like Filmic Pro, I think it's like $20, it unlocks the hardware. It really lets the hardware sing an opera instead of singing monotone in the shower. And like with this software, this Filmic Pro app, and I'm not sales pitching, I'm just one that's pretty popular for this. You can set various resolutions, frame rates, white balance, focus peaks. It's just crazy. Your output, you have multiple output settings. You can just do so darn much with it. And it's insane. And all of a sudden you've got something in your pocket you can shoot a movie with. So you kind of start hearing these reasons. I don't want to call them excuses, but these limitations go away. It's like, well, I can't start shooting my movie because I don't have a camera, or I don't have this, or these things start to evaporate. And now you're just left with, well, hell, I got to go out here and make a movie.
Exactly. Right. On that point, while we're talking, a show of hands in the chat room, anybody who has ever thought about wanting to make a short film, make a documentary, make a full-length feature. If there's anybody in the chat who has wanted to, or is actually in the process of, or see a show of hands. Go ahead. You're right, Terry. There's no excuses anymore. As when we were talking the other night, it is one of those things like, okay, well, just go out and shoot everything. Go out and shoot, dogs walking down the street. Just shoot. Get used to it. Use these, take advantage of these apps that are available. As you mentioned, you got an older version of the phone. There's no excuses anymore.
Yeah, and another thing, kind of just expanding out a little bit. It's the whole process too. Filmic Pro, yes, Chaos. It's awesome. I love it. And it's part of the whole process. You've got the technical aspects of shooting, and mechanically putting the movie together and editing and all that. But I've also, and I haven't mentioned this yet, we were talking about the other night, I've been a writer for a bunch of years too, more editorially, product reviews, training stuff, blah, 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 educational materials. But I've also kind of been one of those, hidden in the shadows creative writers. So I am just working kind of in the last revisions on my first full screenplay. So I have a project that maybe we can talk about sometime once we get a little more going there. I don't want to spoil too much right now, but I buckled down to do my first screenplay, and that also has its own unique set of things. And as a filmmaker, and I'm sure anyone in the audience listening that has been here, that creative writing process can be a big stumbling block to it, getting motivated. I'm just saying this from experience. I'm talking about myself.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you sit down, it's like, oh, what do I do? Where do I start? Well,
where do I go from here?
Yeah, where do I go? What do I do? How do I structure this? How do I build this side of it to get it to this point, to get to this point, to get it in front of the camera, and then get it into post, and then get it sold and distributed? It's a whole process. It's a soup to nuts thing. Fortunately, my separated at birth Siamese twin, long lost brother, George C. Romero is my hero, and I've known George a long time. I did a show with Romero Pictures for quite a while called The Drone Cav with George, and so I started kind of sheepishly working on the screenplay, and I didn't tell anybody about it. I was just kind of like, I don't know, mess around. Maybe I'll do a little 10-minute thing, and just I want to test some camera stuff. It was going to be kind of this proof of concept thing. Well, now it's turned into a feature. Why did it turn into a feature? Well, I don't know. Can you see all these blue cards on my wall?
Mm-hmm.
That's a George thing. That's to map out. Each card represents a scene in your movie. George,
love it.
Just crazy, was writing a book kind of quietly. He had to be writing about me. He had to have like a crystal ball, knowing what I was up to. Because I didn't know so much that he was still in the book. He didn't know I was writing a screenplay. The book is about how me, somebody in this position, can learn to write a screenplay. It's all let's get to it. Here's how you really do it. Here, the blue cards turned my 10-minute thing into an hour-and-a-half feature. It was literally, you could hear the bolts unlocking in my brain as I would go through chapter. It's the book is called Lost in the Words. And
I dropped the link in the chat. Hopefully that takes you right to the actual merch page where the book is at, or you could just go to, as you see scrolling on the bottom, romeropictures.com, and then you can just follow and find it from there, whichever is easier.
Yeah, I mean, just because George is my brother separated at birth. Even if I'd never met him and I found this book, I would guard it with my life. It is it's real experience. It's not a lot of, you will use something on every page of the book. It's just facts. It's just getting to it. And it's not a real long book. It's like 90 pages. And as I understand, he's going to do more shorter form books to follow, maybe half that length or whatever, that kind of focus on a specific thing to build on this. But this is an excellent primer for anybody just getting started with a screenplay, whether you have some writing experience or you just have an idea and you just don't know how to get it out there.
Right.
It has all these things. Like, again, I had all these crazy ideas, like we all do as a creative writer. You think of a scene, or you think of, like in the trailers, the lady sitting at the table. Okay, I don't want to forget lady sitting at table, with an eye patch, and 6 hours later, you forgot it. Put it on a blue card and stick it on the wall.
Right.
And then, when you come back, it's blue, and it's got to be blue index cards. There's a reason for that. It's in the book. And then you put these cards in order, and then you can literally stand back and watch your movie in your imagination. Just like reading a book, you just jump from scene to scene to scene. And then the more you stand there, you start seeing your movie. You start seeing your characters come alive, and then you just whip around your computer and bang, 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 and then you watch a little bit more of your movie. I can't explain it. It's some weird, crazy psychological trick. But
Well, I started carrying around one of those small little notepads for pretty much the exact same purpose. Like if I'm at anywhere, like I'll be at work and just like I'll think of something like
yeah,
and I'll pull up my little notepad and just start and write it in there.
you start thinking of ways to fill in those gaps between scenes. Like, okay, this guy, he stood up and he was angry, and then the girl was getting out of the car, but they're 20 feet away. Okay, how do I connect these? And you have that brainstorm, like, oh, a dog runs past. It's like, dog runs past. But you don't want to forget that. You need a way to catalog that. And then when you can go and apply it physically in a way to see it, it's pretty amazing.
I wanted to bring this up real quick. I was asking earlier about, anybody who has done any kind of indie work in film, and Claire says I made an indie for Trauma.
Yeah.
For about $1,000, and blood, sweat, love, and tears, old gear and vintage lens. Wing and a prayer, 11 days. That's awesome.
Very cool. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Again, you can do it. And I wanted to show one other piece of gear that
Sure.
I use.
Sure.
I meant to show it earlier and then got, it's shut up. We were talking about drones. The last thing about drones and not drones. And I showed you this the other night.
Oh yeah. Yeah. This is great.
This thing, I bought one of these. It blew my mind so much. You all can tell how I am. I got in touch with the manufacturer.
Is it a drone?
What is it?
Is that a drone?
No, it's not a drone. It's kind of the anti-drone or the undrone. If you want to think of it that way. This is called a Wirral cam. And if you ever used a cable cam system,
you'll love this, Jackal Monkey.
Like sporting events and things, they are a fortune. They're extremely expensive. Well, these guys built and designed this one. Now, the way it works is, see how the two arms pop up. You have a cable, and the cables are, you could get your own cable if you wanted to and make it longer, but the two cables that you typically use with it are 150 feet and 300 feet in length, and basically just strings through. If you can see that little slot, cable runs through there. This is a motor that turns, and then it's thread here, so it kind of sits and rides along the cable. Well, what do you do with that? It's got a 1/4-20 on the bottom, holds any camera up to like 3.5 pounds. So you just pop your camera on the bottom, and now you're flying through the woods. You can fly it through trees. You can fly it through a car window. Obviously, if it's not moving, you can put it in places you can't get a drone. And it's got a remote. It also, you can use it off the app off your phone. But
this is my favorite part.
Yeah, you can control the speed of it. So you can move it, you can stop it, you can speed it up. It has a I can't remember what it's called, like a ludicrous mode, sport mode, hyper mode that goes about 40 miles an hour. It's like firing a bullet. I mean, when you lay down on the remote, this thing takes off like a shot. It's stunning how fast it goes.
Can you imagine shooting that son of a bitch at 40 miles an hour through a car window?
Yeah. But
question.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a way to have two cars side by side driving and have that go in between from car to car?
Now I'll say this. I don't know if I condone this or not, but I'll give the guys credit for being like crazy cool with it. And I don't know if this is like officially sanctioned by these guys or not. I am an ambassador for these guys, by the way. They made me their ambassador to filmmakers.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'm like the filmmaker cheerleader for their product now. What I saw this one guy do on YouTube, you'd have to look it up. It was some filmmakers, and they actually went to Home Depot or wherever. Oh, knocked my shelf off the wall. Went to Home Depot or wherever, and they bought a bunch of PVC pipe and created this rig that mounted like on the frame of the car, the top of the car, and went over the car in a way and kind of hung down. And they ran a cable through like the back left rear window up to the front right rear window or front window. And so they ran this as the car was driving at a slow, it wasn't, flying. It was kind of, going at a slow speed, but they flew this from like maybe 5 feet, because the thing, overhung the car, from about 5 feet outside the window through the car out the other window as it's going down the road. So that was cool. So they kind of made their own rig on top of the car to hold the cable to fly it through the car. And that shot came out sick. It was pretty amazing. But that, obviously took a little work and all, but they pulled off a pretty darn cool shot.
What's the price tag on that little toy?
This dude, again, $300. Now you might want to get you an extra battery or so. It's battery powered. So if you're going out on set, you don't want to be stopping and charging the same battery over and over. But I think they're $399, but they often have them on sale for like $299. And I think it's wirelcam.com. And this product is called the Wirel Lite. And it's small.
With that right there, and then the smaller camera that you had earlier that you had connected to the bottom, like you'd be set, right?
You're set. You can fly that again and get a shot in 360, and then reframe that shot out however you want. And it comes with a 150-foot cable, and you think, well, that doesn't sound like much. 150 feet is pretty.
Yeah, no, that's a good distance. Yeah,
and then they have the 300-foot if you want more. I've seen where other people, go and buy like this other line to fly it on, but it's got to be a certain diameter. It's got almost like a little texture to it, I guess, so it can bite better on it. But again, like if you're going to say, follow somebody like a tracking shot, or just anything like that, you can really get that nice smooth shot, and it's going to be inherently smooth because it's suspended on a cable.
Yeah.
And then if you're using a camera that's already stabilized, like the 360 cameras, it's going to be a rock solid, steady shot. And again, under $1,000 worth of equipment, and you're getting $1 million shots.
Unfortunately, we are just about out of time. But give us some parting words, because you have shown us some equipment and told us what they can do, and they can do some absolutely amazing things. I think for what they're capable of, it's almost like pennies on a dollar. Under $1,000, you get your 360 camera. Your cable, your little trolley type, thing going on there. I mean, you can get how much did you say the drone was? That was a good starter drone.
The drone, it's still under 1,000. I'd probably say 700 to 1,000. I don't know what they're selling that model for now, since they've updated it. I'm sure, that model's come down a little. So again, if you want to get crazy, and put about $3,000 into gear, you're going to have a nice setup. You're going to be able to get 360 shots. You're going to get, 4K imagery. And for slow-mo, this guy will shoot, I think up to 100 or 120 frames per second. So you can get some real amazing slow motion out of this too. So it's not just like a static shot. You can get kind of the fake FPV drone shots. I did one today at an event I was at, and I haven't downloaded it yet, but you can mount this dude on a stick, and we've all seen the FPV drone stuff. So obviously you can't do that around people. You can't do it in crowds and stuff, but you can with this on the stick. Basically, you're just walking and mimicking like you're flying it, and the software smooths it and manages the motion, because it's got such insane motion control built into it to give that look. And you can fly like through a banister rail or through an open window, and there's a way that you can mark your start and end point, so it will flip around and continue the shot, so it doesn't break the shot. It's a seamless turn, and it's insane. But I guess my parting advice would be, don't be afraid of technology, and just explore.
And know your equipment. You mentioned that the other night too. Know and understand what your equipment can do. Take it to the maximum capacity that you can to get the most out of it. And I guess the final would be just start. Just get out there and film something.
And like with the screenwriting, same thing. Don't get bogged down in the quicksand of inaction or the fear
Yeah.
of where to start. Just start somewhere. You don't have to start at the beginning. Start in the middle of your story. Start with, on a rainy night. You start your story anywhere, and you start your technology the same way, and you can work and push it out as you go. It's just that lack of fear and confidence, and the indie community is so helpful. I've got so much help from so many people just by asking. I'm always here and available if anybody has questions, or if I can help my resources, I'll talk you to death. But hey, I'm always happy to help, and we've just got an amazing indie community. I can't. If I made a list to thank everybody, we'd be here till midnight. So,
and we're definitely gonna there's so much more that we could have dove into, as far as equipment, as far as just anything when it comes to all of this. We're gonna have to definitely have you back on for a part two, man, to talk some more tech. But for the meantime, we have to say goodbye. But don't hang up on us, Terry. I'm just going to put you in the backstage there, man. I think we had, a lot of people that were digging this, that were kind of on our wavelength. So I want to say goodbye to you off air. So hang out there. Oh, you're very welcome. We can't wait to have you back on.
Thank you very much. I'd love to come on anytime, and I'm always here to help anybody I can.
Awesome. Thank you. Stay on the line there for just a minute. Man, I told you, man. I mean, it's like your brain starts leaking out, in the side of your head. I mean, just all of the things that, he told us and showed us that was possible to do, and how much.
Just right there. Just right there within, like, again, so many ideas. Like, like you said, the indie community is so fucking awesome. Everybody has been so helpful, like, from Terry to Joe Castro. Doug Epps. I mean, there's so many great people that we could, again, we'd probably be here all night thanking people, you know what I mean? But like,
really would, yeah.
These guys are so helpful, and anytime they have you, we got questions that they're there to answer. I mean, it's been awesome, and I can't wait to get this going.
Oh, I know, man. Especially with all the options, knowing that it's not going to cost you a fortune. It's only going to cost you getting out there and filming. So I want to thank everyone in the chat. Sorry, we ran over a little bit there, Tyler, but you did say 6:30 ish Central Time. So
yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. Thank you guys. It's been badass fucking coming back. We've been fiending, been ready to fucking come back. So
man, I know. But hey, thank you guys. We will talk to you next Sunday. Details of what that show is going to be about, I'm sure to come midweek sometime. Thanks again to Terry. It's been a fun show. Jackal Monkey, enjoy the beginning of your week.
Oh yeah.
Hey, we'll talk to you next week.